Mahadeva will do the readings of the Akashic records on death. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Death is Guru and God, not oblivion as perceived by body-centered individuals. Death is a boiling process. Whenever your engrams, desires, fear, greed, everything is boiled in the high energy, there is a possibility your desires can become reality, your fears can be conquered, you can be free from both desire and fear if you are ready, courageous enough to face the process with consciousness. Understand? During the death, your desires come in front of you just to make you understand the disillusionment which can be caused by their presence. Fears come in front of you, make you understand they cannot frighten you anymore. But if you do not have the awareness to look into them, you get deluded by them even while they come to reveal the truths about them. It is like mistaking a friend to be an enemy, and before even the friend expresses his friendliness, you thinking he is enemy and dealing him with a different attitude. So when the desires and fears come in front of you during the moment of death, have patience and restful awareness to look into them. They are coming in front of you just to tell you their disillusionment and their ability that they can't frighten you anymore. By not looking at them with a deep restful awareness, those desires are given a wrong extension of life by your unaware unconscious mind. When the desires are given a wrong extension of life, what you experience is heaven. When the fears are given the wrong extension of life, what you experience is hell. With restful awareness, when you deal both of them, what you experience is liberation. Death can be a great Guru to liberate you, and God to give you the ultimate. Having restful awareness in every moments of your life during the great attacks of fear and greed while you are in the body is the best way to prepare for the death and ability to handle your fears and greeds which you may encounter while you leave the body. Moment of the leaving the body is of great importance. That moment will decide the way you are going to continue your further journey. So, prepare yourself with restful awareness continuously being a Jivan Mukta, practicing living enlightenment, being established in restful awareness during all the chaos or the tsunamis of fear and greed attacks in your life while you are in the body. In unconscious way, without having awareness, perception on death before dying or during dying can bring tremendous suffering and can bring a big damage to the conscious evolution process, which is termed as Nivritti in the Upanishadic records. So understand, moving consciously into the death process liberates you from the fear and greed. Every moment in your life, when you go through the fear or greed, the small dimension of death is perceived and experienced by your restless consciousness. Bring restful awareness, you will have complete depth in handling the fear and greed with restful awareness, so it can liberate you. As these truths are Apaurushya and Sarvabhaumya, not dependent on any individual, including the body through which it is read out, and Sarvabhaumya, universal, anybody who internalizes this truth, aligns their conscious process of cognizance based on these truths, will be liberated and will celebrate their very existence by the grace of the Kala Bhairava, Mahakala, the cosmos itself.
The first question today is from Manitya Priyatmananda, who's asking, Dear Kala Bhairava, what are the steps of the death meditation that we need to do every night? Kindly explain.
Every fear you accumulate, every fear makes you feel agitated, every fear which you do not want to think or remember, go through, go into all those fears consciously, neither deciding to save yourself from that fear, nor having greed to achieve what you are afraid of. So, without having the greed or fear, enter into the fear, naturally the fear will lose its quality of fear when you do not carry fear or greed for the fear. Greed has its quality of greed because you are greed for greed and fear about the greed. Same way, the fear has the quality of fear because you are fear for the fear and indirect greed towards the fear. So when your fears are approached with fearlessness and greedlessness, the straightening out of your consciousness every day happens. The change of consciousness from Jagrat to Swapna, Swapna to Sushupti, the waking state to dream state and dream state to the deep sleep state happens because your awareness is not straightened out. Either the bumps of the fear or bumps of the greed responsible for your consciousness jumping from waking state to dream state or dream state to deep sleep state. If you remove all the bumps of the fear before falling asleep, you will not fall asleep, you will fall into something called restful awareness, which is recorded by the word Turiya by the earlier mantra drashtas. So the word Turiya denotes the state of falling into the restful awareness without the bumps of fear or greed. Every night, remove all the bumps you created during your daytime through fear or greed. Continuous practice of removing all the bumps of fear and greed by facing them will help you to fall into the state of Turiya. This is what Mahadeva calls as death process, Nirbhaya Dhyana.
The next question is from Sri Nitya Atma Manishananda, who's asking, Lord Mahadeva, my pranams. It is said, you have given boon that anybody dies in Kashi, he gets liberated. For this reason, many people live in Kashi and wait for death to happen. What is the truth? Just physical living in Kashi is enough, or something more was instructed by you to do in addition to physical living?
As Mahadeva, it is my own words. People who live and leave their body in Varanasi get liberated. Along with living and leaving, there was some spiritual preparations prescribed, like doing ajapa japa and constantly being aware of the third eye Agnya Chakra. The whole air and the atmosphere was filled with these divine instructions and the spiritual practices and maintained by myself as Kala Bhairava. Still now, anybody who is not capable, who is not practicing these practices for the minimum required amount, will be moved out of Varanasi's boundary before they leave the body due to some reasons out of their ignorance or by the natural forces. So, anybody who lives and leaves their prana in the Varanasi boundary naturally, directly is liberated and achieves enlightenment. I, Kala Bhairava, still maintain the sanctity of that vow and the place, physical place Varanasi, the sanctity and the vow which I gave it to the place physically to Varanasi does not have extinction. It does not have expiry date. As long as the planet Earth exists and the physical place Varanasi exists, only the people who are practicing these two great truths of Ajapa Ajapa and centering themselves on the third eye will be able to live and leave their body in Varanasi. The very space and the place is filled with the physical vibration and the presence of me, Mahadeva, as Kala Bhairava. The place, physical place of Varanasi is equivalent to the eternal incarnation body, Nitya Avatara Sharira. How? In the incarnation's body, eternally I, Mahadeva, reside. Same way, the place, physical place of Varanasi becomes the center of me, Mahadeva's residence eternally. As Mahadeva, me, reside in that very space, physically being centered. Anybody who even makes the sankalpa of living and leaving their body in Varanasi are inspired, initiated to live centered on Ajapa Ajapa and being centered on the third eye, Agnya Chakra. Anybody who refuses, resists, is naturally moved out of that physical place before they leave the body, before their death. Still, Kala Bhairava, me, directly supervising this physical act of removing the people who are unqualified out of the boundary of Varanasi and bringing the people who are qualified into the physical boundary of Varanasi personally. Still, I am overlooking and looking after, managing the affairs of Varanasi physically, assuming the physical plane control over the whole place. Anybody comes there with a simple open eyes will see my physical administration in Varanasi. As this questioner himself is shown the physical form of Kala Bhairava in the form of a photograph inside the Kala Bhairava temple, he does not need to doubt the existence of Kala Bhairava in physical form and administering the Kala Bhairava in Varanasi as the physical place, not just on the spiritual space. In the physical place of Varanasi, Kala Bhairava, me, is running the administration, who should be residing inside the physical boundary and who should be asked, made to vacate the physical boundary of Varanasi before they leave the body. These are some of the sacred centers on the planet Earth as a direct connection with the spiritual plane, and the laws of the cosmos is applicable still into the land of these places. The cosmic law overrules and makes decisions of any man-made laws in these sacred centers. How the incarnation's bodies can never be brought under the man-made laws. Those bodies can neither be punished nor be treated under the man-made laws, neither be controlled nor be rewarded under the man-made laws. The bodies of the incarnations function based on the cosmic law, can never be rewarded or disrespected, can never be treated or abused by the man-made laws. It stands above the man-made laws and continues to radiate its grace beyond any man-made laws and regulations. Same way, Varanasi stands beyond the man-made laws. It still functions based on the cosmic law, as Kala Bhairava himself is ruling and organizing and running the whole administration even now physically.
The next question is from Suresh Kandaraj, who's asking, what happens to the soul of the people who die in accident or get murdered? Is it similar to suicide?
In accidents, if the person is directly involved, saying yes to his own death, it will be treated as a suicide. Or if he is not directly involved, saying yes to that death, it is only the situation and things which are beyond his control are saying yes to his death, it will be considered as murder. During the suicide, the remaining part of the time he has to live without body will be with a deep guilt and pain. But if it is murder, he will neither carry the pain nor the guilt. He will be just given a space to rest without any suffering or the torture. He will be just waiting, only with the waiting mode, without any guilt or suffering. But if it is suicide, he will be waiting along with the deep guilt and pain and suffering. Usually, the ghost which disturbs the human beings, rishis, gandharvas, kinnara kimburudas, are the souls which has committed suicide, not murdered. The murdered ones will have tremendous sympathy and helping tendency towards the human beings and kinnara, kimburuda, gandharva, gandhara, rishis. So, the murdered ones can be of a friendly use for human beings, but the suicide ones, as they themselves will not be in restful awareness, will not be able to help, and anybody who connects with the suicided ones who have committed suicide will be in danger. The people who have committed suicide, those individual souls, will only be playing cunning games to impart what they feel as a suffering and torture and pain towards others, as their deep frustration and anger towards everything in the life, and will not be of any use or help to human beings. So Mahadeva, Kala Bhairava, instructs all the mediums who are relating with the departed ones not to contact, relate, try to take any help with the souls which have committed suicide. But you can relate and try to receive the help and friendliness in any form any way which you know available above said to the souls which are murdered.
The next question is from Dr. Sundareshan from Sri Lanka, who's asking, Dear Kalabhairava, Namah Shivaya, when does the death happen? Is it when the heart stops, or when the respiration stops, or when the brain death occurs as per our medical guidelines? How can a doctor help the soul which is leaving the body?
What you understand as clinical death has nothing to do with the death. When death happens, all these symptoms which you asked happens. Heart stops, brain stops, and all the other symptoms which you claim during the clinical death happens. Please understand, if all these things are happening one by one, when all of them happen, when the last symptom happens, that should be the moment of death as per the normal human understanding. Among these happenings of respiration stopping, heart stopping, brain stopping, which one happens last? That should be the moment of death. Even if one is still happening, then the death should not be declared. Still the person should be considered as alive. But even after all these three happens, only if the reflection discontinues to get reflected on Anandagandha, the complete death happens. The possibility of returning to that same body becomes impossible. It gets stopped. Till that happens, the possibility of returning to the same reflection on the same body still exists. So, what you call as clinical death should be happening of all the three. Which one happens last? That moment should be considered as clinical death. Even if one of them are still functioning, the person should not be declared as dead. Even all the three happening is not complete possibility that the soul's reflection will not be happening on the body again. It is only the humanly impossible to make the soul again reflect on the same body. So human beings can declare that as death. Cosmically, only when the reflection of the Anandagandha stops happening on the individual body, he will be declared as dead, which will happen only after these three physical symptoms happen. Unless the three physical symptom happens, the fourth one of the stoppage of the reflection of the Anandagandha will not happen. Sometimes, even after these three, the heart stopping, respiration stopping, brain stopping, Anandagandha can continue to reflect on the body for days or sometime months, sometime ages, as in the case of Jiva Samadhi Siddhas, the Siddhas who are living in the body but stopped all the movements and the actions of the body voluntarily. But all practical purposes, for all human purposes, all human beings can be declared as dead only when all these three happens. Even if one is yet to happen, you should be waiting and should not declare the person as dead. Let the vibrations of Mahadeva, Kalabhairava, bless all the bodies exist here with his initiation and liberate every body exists here from death, and let all the bodies present here be freed from the death and be liberated from the death. The Kalabhairava and his presence, let it radiate many things which cannot be translated as words, just as a pure vibration and living silence, the vibrant stillness. All the bodies seen by this body be blessed to imbibe the vibration radiated from this body and through this body, which can't be converted into the understandable words by you all, be radiated and enter as initiation into every one of the bodies present. And seen by and through this body. Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya. Hara Hara Hara. Hara Hara Hara. Read the questions.
The next question is from Magali Laurent, who's asking, Beloved Swamiji, is doing the ritual for the departed being done after death important?
It is important, as the living ones will be tormented by the unconscious memory, and the living ones will project their life's understanding and fear and greed on the departed ones. For the healing of the living ones, the rituals for the death is important. Perform as long as you are free from the fear and greed projection of yours on the dead ones. When you are completely free from your fear and greed being projected on the dead ones, you can stop performing those rituals.
The next question is from Vishnu from Chennai, who's asking, what are all the practices and chants to be done to a person who is terminally ill to help him have a conscious death?
Recite all the Akashic records, readings done by Kala Bhairava. Chant all these great verses continuously. That itself will make the individual choose the conscious death. So, Akashic readings by Kala Bhairava using this body of Nityananda is enough to make the individual decide to have conscious death.
The next question is from J. Sumati from Chennai, who's asking, during our lifetime, we get chances to reduce our karma. Do we get set chances of reducing karma between death and rebirth? Thank you.
No, between death and rebirth, either you are in highly elated mood. If you go through the conscious death, you are highly depressed if you go through unconscious death. The extraordinary elation or the extraordinary depression, both spaces growth does not happen. Extraordinary elation is considered as heaven, extraordinary depression is considered as hell. Neither in hell nor in heaven the conscious exhaustion of the karmas is possible. You will not be able to exhaust the karmas neither in hell nor in heaven, as the space of the possibility for the mixture of both, possibility of the mixture of the both, which is Bhuloga, the planet space, is required for your conscious growth. The space and the time between death and rebirth cannot be used for growing consciously. So anything needs to be done for the conscious growth needs to be done between the time of birth and death, not between death and rebirth.
The next question is from an ashramite who's asking, Dear Kala Bhairava, scientists and researchers say near-death experience is a change in the brain chemistry and brain function and not a trip to heaven. Is near-death experience really a change in the brain chemistry?
Trip to heaven cannot happen without changing the brain chemistry and brain function. Change of brain chemistry and brain function can happen only if the trip to heaven happens. The heaven is physical reality only as much as the world's physical reality. In ultimate sense, neither the world is physical reality nor the heaven is physical reality. Both are nothing but chemical change in brain and change in the brain function. In other way, if you consider the physical reality as reality, with that comparative existence, with that comparison, you can call going to the heaven, trip to heaven is also a reality. So trip to heaven, trip to planet Earth, both are either chemical change in your brain or trip to both the places. So if this is reality, that is also a reality. If this is illusion from the ultimate source, that is also an illusion. So trip to the heaven and change in the brain function, both are one and the same. Without one, the other does not happen. So do not underestimate the change in the brain function, chemistry in the brain function as ordinarily.
The next question is, why do we remember our past when we wake up from sleep, but not when we wake up into a new life after death? Is it because we take a different body after death?
Even after sleep, you do not remember all the past. The amount of the destruction of your body is very less. But how much your body is destroyed, that much of your past gets into the Karana layer, the causal layer, and you do not remember. In the death, the destruction of your body is more. Because of that, the non-remembrance of the biomemory is also more.
The next question is it possible to regain the memory of our past lives? Does one need to have a special body and nervous system to withstand such an experience?
Only the nervous system which is prepared by the yogic practices like unclutching, which is freely, easily able to handle the present life biomemories available without getting stressed, tensed, diseased, disturbed, will be able to handle the more memories of the past life.